Up and running, and Buildup is loud.
Hello and welcome to the Villa Park podcast. It's me, Rich, and I'm back with your favourite football data analyst, Gareth. Not even Christmas could get in the way, not even Christmas Eve could get in the way of our Talking Tactics show. So we had to bring you our analysis of Aston Villa 1, Sheffield United 1. And first of all, Gareth, happy Christmas. Welcome to the show. And also just, I guess, 15 home Premier League wins in a row, and it had to come to an end against the team that's bottom of the table.
Yeah, first of all, Merry Christmas to you as well, Richard. I mean, Christmas does not get in the way of a podcast, of course. That would just be ridiculous. But yeah, it was a funny old game, really, wasn't it? You know, it's sort of like we were quite dominant in possession and everything else. And you just got that feeling that if an early goal would have come, I think things would have been a bit different. But I've got to give a lot of credit to Sheffield United.
Absolutely, yeah. They, Wilder, he knows what he's doing. You knew that Sheffield United, in terms of what he can do, he can get players to buy into what he wants them to do, and they will follow it to the letter of the law. And they did that, and they were very, very disciplined, and did threaten towards the end of the game, which is how a lot of these games do pan out. And obviously Archer gets the goal as well.
Yeah, we saw a lot of it. You know, a perfect example would be Palace against Manchester City the other week, for example. Stay in the game for as long as you can away from home. See if you can hit teams on the counter. And that's what these sort of teams are doing. And a lot of them are effective. And yeah, I thought they did really well. And I think what you say is a lot of it is with Chris Wilder and teams, players buying into it. That's what a good manager does. He buys into sort of, they buy into sort of, look, come on, lads, get them. It's not just about tactics. It is about the buy-in.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. First of all, we've got all our usual stuff, and a lot of the times with these games, when you don't win, there tends to be like more talking points. So you've got quite a few screenshots as well to share. So really good analysis again. So guys, make sure you do hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. We've obviously passed 3,000 subscribers, which is absolutely phenomenal. We did it before Christmas as well, so that is all thanks to you guys. So we don't want to stop there though. So keep subscribing, keep liking, help spread the word of the channel, and then get involved in the comments. So before we get into your screenshots, Gareth, usual kind of viz images, passing network, anything to write home about here? Anything that that you noticed any different?
I think, a couple of things really. I think Longley, for example, played really well. I think he filled that void. Well, he is not Pau Torres, let's be fair, but he was clearly asked to fulfill that role. Do what Pau does. Can you do it? Yes, you probably can. And he did really, really well. I have to say, credit to come into a team, like Villa, and not playing a vast amount of minutes, and to be able to fulfill that role. And we'll see that in the screenshots a little bit later in terms of position and everything else. I think a credit to him, he done really, 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 really well. Big shout out to Matty Cash as well. Highest expected threat, which again we'll see, on that right hand side, sort of passing into Bale and passing into those higher areas. And I think he should have got a lot of credit as well for that performance.
Yeah. We will get into expected threat in terms of passing. My thing would be just noticing this. Obviously, it's up to win at 74 average positions. Obviously, you've got Cash, Diaby, Bailey, quite a nice triangle there, pushing up on the right hand side. To beat these teams who kind of come with a low block, would you? I know it's not necessarily the Emery way as well. He kind of goes down one side, and you see that here. But would you want maybe that kind of positioning for the left hand side being a little bit higher, just to kind of stretch the opposition a little bit more?
Yeah, I had a few issues as we'll get to as well, but I had more of an issue sort of like with Jacob Ramsey's positioning a lot of the time, where you sort of he was inside, that's fair enough, but he also then tried to drift wide where Luca Digne likes to operate, and Luca Digne wasn't quite sure, and I think that's what you are alluding to on that the average positions there, because obviously we see Digne sort of mostly past the halfway line, don't we? you've got to remember, we have to remember that Villa play with like an asymmetrical shape, if you like. So not too orthodox attacking fullbacks. We let a winger do the attacking on the right and the fullback on the left. So for players then to come into that side, and JJ's sort of still finding his way in, I think that's when the issues sort of then occur. And I think they have to try and figure out with JJ, is he better with Digne on that side, or is he better with Mourinho on that side? I think there's just a few issues and that sort of coming to fruition as well a little bit later on in the game, I think.
Yeah, 100%. Now Matty Cash does come in for a little bit of criticism, and you've backed him up, and I guess from an analyst perspective as well, this is why you do this sort of stuff. And yeah, you can see there most threatening in terms of contribution for passes and set pieces.
Yeah, there was a lot of sort of, as we'll get to, there was a lot of sort of conversations going on between Emery and Matty Cash on the sidelines that I noticed throughout the game, and it changed from the first half to the second half, mainly because Cash in the second half was on the same side as the bench, obviously, so there was a little bit more interaction. But I thought Matty Cash did really those passes into Bailey and those passes into those higher areas. Considering he's not an attacking fullback, he's maybe found his niche a little bit. Maybe that is his role in that side, is to feed into those areas and just be that supportive right-hand side. And so, yeah, it was a tricky thing to get right. I think the balance is really, really affected when Kamara and Torres and the rest don't play. I think a settled 11 is what he really likes and what we are good at.
Yeah, and it's where, like you said before, an early goal settles those nerves, settles the kind of the tension and the frustration, and then those players kind of relax a little bit. The longer it goes on, the more those frustrations come out, the passes don't come off, etc., etc. So it's almost like a snowball effect, if you like. Let's go into the XG in terms of our shot map. Anything sort of crazy here? Did Sheffield United do well to restrict us to not too many efforts?
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think that's a fair assessment. I mean, they didn't look like they came to win the game. They came to frustrate. And as we alluded to earlier, Wilder knows how to set his team up in that low block. And it was sort of in different sort of a position in the thirds in the pitches on the pitch was very, very different, sort of in different how they set themselves up and how they decided to frustrate us. And we know that teams like to be compact and where they're happy for us to have it in wide areas. And I think that's where we do lack a little bit of a focal point in the box if we are to cross the ball in.
Yeah. And then a timeline. What did you kind of pick up here? Anything out of the ordinary?
Well, I think this shows. I think we can all agree that the first sort of half an hour, we looked like we were going to score, but we just couldn't get that sort of. That's what I was on my Twitter. We weren't sort of clinical enough when we needed to be early on in the game, and we can see that a lot doesn't happen for about best part of 40 minutes, from 30 to 75, and then sort of things start to, as teams start to open up or sort of get tired, or one team tries to win the game, the other team is sort of defending for their lives, and that's what. Pretty much what it come to, and the sucker punch from Cameron Archer was devastating almost. But for this team to come back and still manage to get a point out of it, when in the past, let's be honest, we'd have folded, wouldn't we?
100%. Now you asked me to add this one in as well in terms of some general analysis. What did you pick up from this?
I just think this shows the dominance overall through all different aspects of the game. I mean, for a start, 77% possession, 410 passes in the opposition half, and a lot of them is where we go with Matty Cash on that, credit to him again. And the 5.4 PPD, I mean, we only allowed Sheffield United 5 passes on average before we made a defensive action. And you can see there that that's more than double that for Sheffield United, indicating that they dropped off in that low block. But again, 28 crosses, the 9 corners, and the fouls. We just weren't clinical enough, were we?
No. It's a game like that where I mean, obviously we scored from a cross in the end, but a set piece or just being better with the delivery, just that's what's his key. We've talked about it, set pieces in those areas where it can get you a goal. It's just so important to get that right.
Yeah, I think that's where we sort of we've discussed it on here before, haven't we? About our threat from set pieces. Apart from Douglas Luiz trying to score from nearly every corner he takes, we don't seem to have much of a. We don't seem to get much from that. So that might be something I'll look into in the future, I think.
Yeah, Yeah. Well, let's get into kind of looking at the screenshots. We've got quite a few to go through. Forgive me if I do have any slight technical issues, but I've been practicing, so we should be good to go. But yeah, looking at it, we've got the second phase, build up and patterns of play. So you've alluded to it a little bit before, but what was the main things you were noticing?
Yeah, we should have one slide before that, Rich, in the first phase. That's the
Ah,
one.
my bad.
So yeah, so we're going to sort of try and sort of take a look at sort of how Villa progress the ball up the pitch and so forth. And I've sort of broke it down into sort of three different phases, apart from sort of like the end one, if you like, or whether it be a shot or except the end of the phase of play, if you like.
Ah.
So yeah, for
This is
this one,
after. This is yeah. Oh yeah,
yes,
first phase build up. Sorry, my bad.
that's
Yeah,
right.
there
No,
we
yeah.
go.
So
There we
yeah,
go.
so we're looking at, so obviously we sort of tend to favour the left hand side. We can go right to Conter or we can go left to Longley. We tend to favour the left hand side. So Martinez plays the ball to Longley, and that's the first real phase of that play.
Yeah, yeah. Let's jump into the second phase now. We gave you a preview, but yeah. So again, second phase here. What's the story on this bit here then?
Yeah, the second phase was sort of, no, I broke this down into two sort of separate aspects there. I've almost cut the pitch in half. If we can imagine a vertical line from one penalty spot to the other penalty spot, we can separate that pitch. So if we play right here, which we have done, we've played from Conser into McGinn, we play out to Cash, and then we're freed up to play on Leon Bailey. The arrows over the other side is the other way we could go. We could go from Longley to Louise to Digne or Longley to Digne, and this is where I think Ramsey sort of could have positioned himself a little bit sort of in between, just a little bit to the right there maybe, and sort of so you've got that other option to play sort of horizontally, like McGinn likes to turn and he can swivel and play. But that's sort of like the second basic phase.
Mm. Yeah, no, it's interesting. It is interesting. My question on this would be as well. I get it sometimes. You want to build up, but was this slight issue, and even in that timeline when you say between kind of 30 and 75 minutes, nothing really happens. Is there a spot for like how quickly we pass the ball? Like if you're doing those passing moves, can you do it in one touch, or can you miss a player out, or something like that, just to change it up a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, what we look at when we look at sort of passing sequences and how the direct, what we call direct speed, is how quickly a team progresses the ball up the pitch, and that's again something I plan to look at sort of in the new year, really, to see
Yeah,
how we do it. But possession wise, we tend to sort of have a lot of possession chains that are long, and the 77% possession tells us that. So again, here, this is sort of like the second phase where I said we could have gone the other side where the lighter
mm,
color arrows were. So we can do it here. We've got Longley, and that's that Pau Torres position where Longley is in. This is where I think he kind of got that a little bit right. Could have been a little bit more withdrawn. But again, here, Ramsey, you're looking to run in behind, or you're looking to sort of move it. You've got to sort of change that position up a little bit because everything's a little bit too condensed there and
yeah,
everything. And what are you going to
yeah,
do? Are you going to go wide? And when the teams are playing at 5 at the back, you've got to move the ball a bit quicker than that.
100%. And sorry, maybe even like Watkins being maybe more positioned in between that fullback and centre half instead of through this gap here, because then that maybe allows Ramsey a bit more
Yeah,
space.
I agree with that, and I think this is where Moussa Diaby for me is. We're still not quite sure, are we? I think
No.
overall, and I think we're all not. We know he's a quality player, but we're just not quite sure about his positioning, and we'll get onto that a little bit as well.
Yeah, yeah. We've got another one here. This is third phase, so even more phases, but this is third phase. Um, I think was this the chance for Diaby? But yeah, talk to us about this.
Yeah, this is where we sort of like when we're doing analysis, when we're doing opposition analysis, we look at the different phases of play and how teams build up and how many phases sort of they take to get to the goal and how they do that. And Villa, we've gone sort of regressed back to a previous slide where we come down the right hand side. We've built up through sort of Concert to Cash to McGinn or whatever, and we've gone to Leon Bailey. This is that chance, and we this is where Diaby for me, you've got to get in there, and I think he did eventually, but it's just how can we do that a little bit better? Can we
Mm,
swap those positions up? Can we sort of Bailey come inside? Diaby sort of makes that space with Leon, and Cash can get down that right hand side. And this is where an attacking fullback would do that. I think because
mm.
Bailey takes him inside, and Cash would get down that right, like Luca Dini does on the left for a crossing position. But for the right hand side, we don't tend to do that because we've got Leon Bailey there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's sometimes like they're taking each other's spaces a little bit, but I understand it. I do understand it. So this one, Matty Cash, focusing a little bit on him. What was the main kind of points you wanted to make regarding
Yeah,
Cash?
yeah, I alluded earlier that Emery was sort of doing this to Matty Cash a lot, which means he wants him to be into that space up close to Leon Bailey when the ball's here, because it presses Sheffield United back more. We don't need, you've got Conser and Longley supporting. So he kept doing this a lot to Matty Cash,
Right.
push up to Leon Bailey. And I think that's where he needs to be, because the Sheffield United left-sided midfielder, they played in a 5-4-1. He's not got to worry about anything there. So
No.
they're marking one Villa player there. So he just needs to be pushing up into that position. And he did that. He did it in the first half, but in the second half he didn't so much. And I think that's what Emery was alluding to there.
Yeah. And again, you mentioned about us not quite getting Moussa Diaby. He's not quite getting into his positions that he wants. Maybe it's a bit of confidence. Maybe it's positionally. Maybe it's a combination of everything. But yeah, a little focus on Diaby. What are you not seeing that you want to be seeing?
We saw it sort of in a previous slide where he was more central, and that's okay. But here, higher up the pitch, he was doing it. But here, when the ball's here, that ball, if he moves forward in there, that ball can be passed straight through that channel. And where Ramsey is there is pretty much that's how Emery wants us in a 4-2-2-2. That's fine, but Bailey's wide. I just think for Moussa Diaby, be a little bit more braver in that sort of space.
He was
Pain.
doing it earlier on in the season as well, wasn't he? There was so many times where that ball, he would make the movement into there and receive the ball on the half turn.
Yeah,
It's maybe a confidence issue.
Yeah, I think it might be because, Leon's keeping the width out here. You've got Matty Cash on there as well. So you haven't got to worry about sort of if there's a turnover in possession. Just be brave, make a run. Make a run past Ramsey into that channel there. Just go. Because Pau Torres would find you there, and Longley would find you there. Just a little few tweaks here and there, I think, for Moussa.
Yeah. And then again here, I think that's the similar slide that you had before, but again focusing on him a bit more.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying, because now we're further up the pitch. We're 15 yards higher up the pitch.
Yeah.
This is where he could have been to receive the ball 15 yards deeper. So, you've got that sort of, this is the right position. This is great. But is he part of a front two, or is he a number 10? I'm sure he's not quite there. We could easily say that he should be the other side of Watkins in occupying another centre half there. So what do we want him to do? What is his role in that side? And I think he's sort of master of his own downfall in a moment, and a master of the sort of the tactics that Emily wants him to play. Kind of neither here nor there for me at the moment, Moussa Diaby.
Yeah, well, that's it as well. Like I think back to the Brighton game, he was so threatening. The Newcastle game at the start of the season, getting into areas, running at players, so dangerous. At the minute, he's kind of, like you say, he's kind of slightly neither here nor there. And it's not a criticism of Diaby as a player, because he's an excellent footballer, and I'm sure he will come good. But we want to see, when he gets the ball, go at people, run at people, try and beat them. Like at the minute, I'll go back to the Brentford game. Every time I saw him get the ball against Brentford, he just passed the ball backwards. He didn't do anything where he was trying to cause problems to the other team. And you want him to strike fear in the opposition. That's what you want. You don't want him to just take the easy option every time.
No, I mean, I think like I said, I think partly he's victim of the system, because I think if we played a 4-2-3-1 and he was on the right side of that attacking midfield three, I think he's probably good. And Leon on the left, maybe, or Diaby on the right, whatever. I think he's a bit of a sort of, he's not a number 10. He's either a centre forward or he's a wide man. So a victim of the system, I think.
Yeah. But if you want him to get the ball into space, and he's got that space to run at people, like sometimes it doesn't matter what position you're playing, just do what you're good at. But I take your point, man. I definitely take your point. Now, finally, last couple of slides, the goal that we got. Nicola Zaniolo, you put there, Louise cross Zaniolo run. I mean, looking at that, the distance that he covered, that's pretty decent. It's good vision, good risk taking as well on Zaniolo's part.
Yeah, the title of this slide was initially, "Why is Alex Moreno in the box?" or something along those lines. And I'm thinking to myself, play wide, play in the Dini role, because you've got a good left foot, you can cross the ball well. But when he comes on or whatever, they don't seem to want to do that. This is later on in the game, obviously, when we need the goal. And I think they want Luis out in these positions because his delivery is just simply better than Alex Moreno's. And you want an in-swinging delivery because it's more dangerous than a Moreno left swinging out, from that position. So I can kind of see where we went from that. I just wanted a little bit of Mourinho, maybe. I think Douglas is more effective inside rather than he is here, but I can't criticise it because we scored from it. But yeah,
Yeah.
the late run is fantastic.
Yeah, and we got the last slide there where he's in there, right in there. And look, his bravery, all that sort of stuff, timing, everything that we talked about, and yeah, good on Zaniolo, because like I say, I've given him a lot of criticism over the past few weeks, but fair play to the guy.
Yeah, listen, a goal's a goal, innit? And he did well. I've got some sort of issues around how Mourinho operates in this side because he spends a lot of time in the box. He did a lot of it against Brentford, if you remember, and sort of had a couple of chances. And I'm not quite sure how that would sort of work going forward. Is Dina the proper left back? Is Moreno? I'm not quite sure, but yeah. Anyway, you can't fault the cross from Dougie. It was fantastic.
Yeah, 100%. And you touched on it before about character to get back into the game, all that jazz. It's all good. It stops a defeat, keeps the momentum going a little bit, and takes us into Boxing Day against Man United. They're on the floor. We've got to be fairly confident as well going into that game.
You'd have thought so. It's just a shame we've got some selection issues in key areas, isn't it? Really, I think. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see Mourinho start that game. I think he might start that game over Luca Digne. But yeah, I mean, it's Old Trafford, isn't it?
It's always the same. Yeah, I know.
It doesn't seem to matter what we do. Hoyland hasn't scored all season long, but yet, it's a sort of typical one that he'll get one against us. But we should be confident going into that. And let's face it, we did it with Jack when he's in the side, so why can't we do it again?
Yeah, and I'm slightly irked by the fact that every pundit, every single journalist is talking about how the result, the draw between Liverpool and Arsenal benefits Man City. No question or no kind of comment about it helping Aston Villa. The fact that we got the draw against Sheffield United just highlights to them that we're not in a title race, not the fact that we showed character to not lose the game. So that would just make it so much nicer for me to get the win, and then whoever can drop points around us, and then they might have to talk about us again.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about it on our WhatsApp group, weren't we, about how frustrating it was about match of the day and things like that. And they didn't talk about the handball really so much. They didn't talk about the Watkins tug so much. I mean, that's a penalty. The handball's a penalty. I think the goal ruled out is fair. I think we can, that you could toss that up either way, but there was a foul. We'd want that given for us, wouldn't we? So yeah, just a little bit sort of derogatory, really. How we're not sort of in the race. And my missus is a Man City fan, and I was telling her yesterday, I said, you're 3 points behind, 5 points behind us. We've only got a game in hand, but yeah, we don't seem to be in the question about it. And it's off, really.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, look, Gareth, once again, amazing analysis. Thank you so much for the work you put in, and thanks for all the work you've put in this year, mate. It's been absolutely amazing. I'm sure you're buzzing that we've hit 3K as well. Just great stuff across the year, mate.
Yeah, it's incredible, and I love doing it. As part of the day job as well. So it's fantastic for me to do it for my club as well. And after speaking to people at the club, they do watch. People do watch the show, so don't think that they don't, because they do, as they do a lot of other podcasts, I'm sure. But yeah, it's been good to be involved in it, and let's just hope come May we're in a really, really good position to talk about it.
Fantastic. Well, guys, thank you all for watching. We're going to be back tonight for a live match preview for the United game, maybe a little bit of Christmas fun as well. So make sure you tuned in for that. Haven't quite worked out the time yet, but we will. Maybe about 6:30, 7:00, but we'll see. But look, have a great Christmas, everyone. Thank you for all your support. Thank you for watching. Get involved in the comments. Make sure you like. Make sure you subscribe. Have a wonderful, wonderful Christmas. And as always, remember, we all follow the Villa. Thanks, everyone.